In this video, we'll be taking a look at a very important concept in Blender. It's called link duplicates. And this is a concept where you can save a lot of computer resources. So the way it works is that if I select this object, and we've been familiar with creating duplicates of this object by pressing Shift D, and let's go ahead and move this along the Y-axis like that. Now, since we know how our outliner works, let's go ahead and sort of expand these two objects. So we have our cube, and then we have cube 001. Now inside our cube, we have data for our 3D object. So the cube itself is a container. In Blender, all our 3D objects are sort of like containers, and then within those containers, we have object data. So since we pressed Shift D, it's called duplicating our objects, and you can see that we have this cube, and then we have cube 001. So these are two separate objects or two separate meshes. Now, if you select this same object, and then we can go ahead and create a copy of this on this side. But instead of pressing Shift D, we're going to press Alt D. And let's move this on the Y-axis. And now if we go ahead and expand it, you can see that even though it says cube 002, the inside, the data itself matches to this first cube. So we have cube and cube up there. So the container itself is changed, but the data within it didn't change for the link duplicate when we press LT. Why this would be important? Since it's not using new mesh data, our computer doesn't need to do a lot of the extra calculations, so we can save resources there, but it has other advantages too. Now, one of the advantages, since the container itself is different, we can go ahead and rotate our object, we can scale it down, but if we go into edit mode and start editing parts of our object, you can see how it's connected to the object at the top. So that data for our mesh is connected, and if we make change to one object, it's going to affect all the instances of those objects. Now this is really helpful if you have a lot of the same buildings, trees, or those kinds of things where you want to distribute them throughout your 3D project, while at the same time saving a lot of resources. So it's going to give you two advantages. First, you're going to save resources. Second, it's going to give you convenience. If later you want to change or make a change to your object, you make change to one object and it applies across all the instances. So you can see that it can be a really powerful concept. So for this other object, if we go into edit mode and start editing, you can see it's going to be completely separate mesh data. So it's not going to affect that. But these two objects have same data for the mesh. So if we make change in edit mode, it's going to affect both objects. But if we make change in the object mode, then it's only going to affect our object container. So that gives us freedom to freely sort of scale and add randomization. So if you have a lot of trees, you'll be able to place them at different positions. You can have different scale, different rotation. But when you want to change the look of the object itself and the data of the object, then it's going to apply across all those objects because they'll be using the same data. Another thing that we can do is that if you go into edit mode for your object, you can add multiple objects data inside a single object. So here you can see we have this cube, but if we go ahead and add something like this UV sphere, we can also have that same UV sphere data inside our cube. So you can see that with this cube, we have two different sort of objects inside it. Usually we don't do that, but you can see that if you want, you can do that.